Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Sacred Souls podcast. I'm Ariel Heather, and today I'm in Auburn, California, because on Friday later this week I'm doing my mushroom journey, and so I wanted to stop by a town that was like pretty close by. And one of the good things about being in this town is that I get to see my friend Rochelle.
Hello.
And today I really wanted to share her story because it's kind of similar to mine but different, and I just think it would be like a very unique perspective to hear the similarities and contrasts between the two of us, because we are two women with two cancer journeys and we both have the power of choice. So thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
We actually met through her sister, who is a photographer in Orange County where I used to live, and she just like put us in touch and we did some healing work together, and then we just became fast friends.
Yes.
And so as you guys know or may not know, if this is the first time listening, I was diagnosed with the deadliest form of breast cancer back in 2019, and the recommended treatment was a double mastectomy with chemo and radiation. And I declined chemo and radiation, but I did do a double mastectomy, and then I ended up healing the rest of it naturally. And I attribute that a lot to just like the spiritual work, emotional and mental work that I did, because I really think that everything starts from within, especially because the breast cancer that I had, they say it has to do with stress. It has nothing to do with your hormones whatsoever. So I figured like if I caused it potentially, then I can heal it as well. And the 5-year mark, they said that there's this 5-year mark where the first 5 years you have a 30% chance of it coming back at stage 4, but if you make it to the 5-year mark, you are 100% in the clear. And that was this past November. So
Woo-hoo.
I do now have a complete story to share with you guys. But I really want you, it's like with all of that being said, I really want you to just hear Rochelle's story and we can have a discussion about it, because it's so inspiring. And like I said, it's similar, but definitely very different. And I just want to show you guys how we can make empowered choices when we are, in the face of, like, God forbid, death, but not just that, it could just be like any adversity. So if you want to just start maybe by sharing when you were diagnosed, or just everything about your story that you want to share.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here. And as you said, we have a similar journey, and it was nice to be able to spend time with someone in this cancer club. It's kind of a club you find yourself in that you don't want to be part of, yet it's very inspiring to meet people that are on this path. And, the first thing I would say is there's so many ways to deal with cancer. I think it's the thing that no one wants to hear. It's the cancer word that we all dread. I personally had been having some health issues for a couple of years, kind of like gastrointestinal upsets that I kind of ignored and put off doing some of the diagnostics. So in June of 2023, I was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer. And my diagnosis was pretty severe. It was a very large tumor. It's inoperable, and the recommendations for treatment for my case were going to be a combination of 6 months worth of radiation and chemotherapy, followed by surgery, and then additional rounds of chemotherapy radiation. So probably about a 2-year treatment course that would have involved chemotherapy, radiation, and then a lot of surgeries. So that was kind of what was presented to me as my diagnosis in June 2023. And then I got to start the search of trying to figure out how I was going to heal my body.
So since that was, like, we know what the recommended treatment was and all of that, what did you end up doing so far?
Well, so far I have stuck to a natural path. I was blessed to be raised in a very holistic, open-minded family. My parents are, my mom is a massage therapist and my dad is a holistic veterinarian. So I was raised kind of in a very conscious environment with a lot of understanding around, the components of disease, not only mental, emotional, but also diet and nutrition. So I think for me, my diagnosis became kind of a case experiment. I'd been really healthy my whole adult life. I'd never been to the ER. I'd never had surgeries. I've never really had any sort of a health trauma. So my diagnosis kind of gave me an opportunity to put into practice all of these different modalities that I had seen as a child and that I had been exposed to as an adult, kind of in the natural healing community.
Yeah, and we were just actually talking about this earlier. Like, we've both had these backgrounds of like spirituality and like alternative ways of healing things, and we've been like that before our cancer diagnosis. And so people sometimes think like, oh, is that what prompted you to be on this path? But no, actually we already were on that path and we already had these things and these resources available to us. And we feel like that's actually like one of the reasons like why, well, just something that helped us with our diagnosis is like, okay, now we have these resources and these tools and this mindset, and now we can actually put it into practice with something so huge.
Yeah, and I remember kind of having, I think a big part of this for both of us has been, the intuitive piece of this, learning how to hear that voice inside of you that kind of can help guide you through life, and recognizing the opportunities and the things that you should or shouldn't do for treatment, and then also for life choices and changes. So I think for me, that was one of the things that I realized early on in my diagnosis, was that I wanted the opportunity to try out all of these different modalities and to see how they would affect my body. So I've spent basically the last 18 months diving into everything and anything, from the turkey tail mushrooms to cold plunging to light therapies to actually going to a foreign country and spending 21 days in an intensive in-treatment program of alternative therapies. So, I feel like I've really done everything above and beyond, and then everything I'd done prior and then that I've done now to really build a pretty robust lifestyle practice that has helped sustain my health.
And talking about like intuition, so we both kind of had, and I mean, you probably had more than one, and I mean, I did too, but like just to talk about one main thing, just to show you guys how our intuition can really help us. When I was diagnosed with my breast cancer, one of the reasons why I didn't do chemo is because the night that they told me I needed to do it, I was like up all night, I was crying, I was upset because I really didn't want to do it. And I was just so stressed, but finally this calm came over me because I think I just had overthought myself to death. And I had this vision, like I was trying to connect with my spirit team, and I had this vision of me laying in bed dead from chemo, and I still had my hair, like I could tell it seemed like maybe the beginning stages of doing chemo because I really didn't know much about chemo at the time. And so to me, like they were saying, don't do it. And I trusted and followed that blindly. And I mean, people thought I was crazy, but it ended up actually like that worked for me. And I know that we were just talking about something that just came up recently with you. If you could share about like the whole eclipse thing with the health insurance.
Oh,
that just to show how the universe and our spirit team like does guide us.
Yes.
Like, and we're both stubborn people, and so sometimes if you aren't picking up on the message the first time, like they will just step in and like just know that you are divinely protected and guided.
Yeah, and I think, for all of us in life, learning how to manage fear is a thing. And when you're given a diagnosis like cancer, it's very scary. There's a lot of prognoses that probably are things that you don't want to imagine would happen to your body or to your life. So as I've been going through my journey the last 18 months, I would say my body has healed in a lot of ways, but I've also had some symptoms and some progressions that were things that were a little bit more uncomfortable. So in the process of trying to figure out how to support my body on this healing journey, I've been highly encouraged by my oncologist and my radiologist to consider doing radiation treatment. So basically what had transpired was I kind of, made a decision that I didn't feel great about and thought, okay, maybe I should try some radiation. So I agreed to do this radiation treatment. And then I had this kind of cosmic intervention where my health insurance was canceled. So I had a situation and change of life circumstances, and the insurance company that I was in could no longer cover me. So I had this lapse of coverage for about 30 days, which meant that I couldn't get the treatment that I didn't really want to get. So it kind of gave me the time and space to reflect. And as I was sharing that experience with Muriel, I kind of said, I really feel like it was because I wasn't supposed to do the treatment. So sometimes the universe, even when you go against your own knowingness, has a way of kind of putting a roadblock in front of you. So it kind of was the pause point that I needed to realize that, no, I don't feel good about doing that kind of treatment for my body. And I think really that's a powerful skill for all of us to learn, whether you're on a cancer journey or not, is, when you have these choices in life, how do you make decisions that you feel intuitively guided and then you feel really good about? So that was one recent example where I probably ignored my intuition a little bit, fed into the fear and thought, I need to do the thing that they said I need to do. And then, the universe intervened and I couldn't do it because I didn't have health insurance. So yeah, cosmic divinity as always.
But deep down, like you didn't want to do it in the first place, right?
Yeah. I was just kind of getting into the fear and the unknown of what if these horrible things do happen to my body, and kind of listening to my doctors. So I think that's another thing that can be helpful on this journey is, you want to listen to experts, but it's also okay to decide to manifest your own outcome, and that you can redefine your story and rewrite your story, as you and I both had the opportunity to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it was Dr. Bruce Lipton. Have you ever read his books?
Yes.
Yeah. So he said, accept the diagnosis, but not the prognosis. And I think that that's so true. It's like if the doctor says you have something, like, yes, obviously, like you probably do. But just because, like if they say, you'll be dead in 6 months, like don't necessarily listen to that, because you are, there is free will, and we are in charge of our bodies, and we can manifest and all these things. And there was a study, I forget who did it, but they were basically saying that when doctors tell you, you only have like X amount to live, a lot of patients will die literally to the day of when they set that time frame. And so it's like we can literally kill ourselves in that way if we feed into it. And so yeah, it's just more of an example to just know that you can manifest a different outcome.
Yeah, my first oncologist in our first meeting actually told me, if you're smart, you'll get rid of your property, you'll get rid of all of your animals, you'll move as close to a hospital as possible. I own a ranch and have a lot of animals. If you're lucky, you'll be alive in a year. And that was 18 months ago. So you meet a lot of people on this path that want to throw out numbers about your life. And I think that was one of the hardest things for me to wrap my head around, was someone else trying to tell me what my survivability was going to be.
Right.
So I think finding ways to empower yourself and redefine your story on this journey is really important. And then I was also surprised to learn a lot of the people out in the holistic community that are advocates of natural healing have not necessarily cured themselves of cancer. They might be learning how to live and thrive with cancer. So there's also different ways that we can treat cancer. Sometimes we can totally get rid of our tumors and our cancer sources. Other times we learn how to live with them. So I think my consciousness has also shifted a little bit, that everyone's cancer journey and their solution for cancer can be a little bit different.
I agree. And that's why too, like, I always try to be very sensitive with everyone else. Like, I'm not against chemo for other people. I was just against it for myself. But like, if you feel like that is the path for you, and if it's chemo or radiation or anything Western medicine, because I even did surgery. So like, I'm not against doctors like that. It was just more that I felt like it wasn't right for me, and you felt like it wasn't right for you.
Correct.
And even if you don't even know why, like, it's not, and this is actually my point, is that it doesn't seem logical, but that's when it's really your intuition talking to you. It's just listening to that. And we talked too about people around us that are, concerned, and they were worried about us, and obviously, like, they want to insert their opinion, but they mean well. But it's like, we just both had to, and you still have to do this too, is like, just really stay true to what you want and your inner knowing deep down, so that you're not swayed by external opinions.
Yeah. One of the things that I did when I was first diagnosed was I made a list of all of the things that I had done in my life that were kind of like exceptional outcomes, and things that maybe people said I couldn't do, or things that I had done differently. And it really helped me realize, like, wow, there were many different ways in my life that I'd been able to do things differently than other people, and that this was going to be another thing that I added to my story. So that was really empowering for me to look back at my history and go, oh, wow, we can do it differently. And as I've met different cancer survivors, everyone is doing it differently. And sometimes it does take a combination of conventional and alternative treatment, but I think really listening to your gut and then learning how to develop that communication with your divine or with the universe or whoever you kind of consider as the source out there can be really helpful with getting some stability in this kind of unnerving process.
Right. And I think that's important to mention too, is that like everyone's cancer journey should be different, because we are all different. And I think that's maybe just one of the downfalls sometimes of Western medicine, is that it's like a one size fits all a lot of the time. And so it's like, maybe something that would be good for her isn't good for me, and vice versa. And so I think that is beautiful that everyone's cancer journey does look differently, because like we all need different things.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, different outcomes. And it takes a combination of different things. So I think for me also, not maybe having a real defined treatment plan has also allowed me to explore and experience new things. When someone suggests something, I can try a supplement or try a different way of eating and see how it feels in my body. And really that's kind of become my metric now, more than maybe the medical tests, is how do I feel in my body?
Right.
How's my energy levels? How's my vitality? For me, those are more measurements than maybe some of the test results. In my personal history, I was actually told to go on hospice last year. So from a medical perspective, they didn't expect me to be alive right now.
Right.
So I'm living in a space of kind of getting to redefine the odds. So it's kind of fun to try different things. So I would also encourage people to explore. Your body needs different things at different times in its healing journey. And there's a lot of amazing modalities out there, nutritionally, environmentally, spiritually. So I think it maybe gives you an opportunity when you get a diagnosis like this, if you can reframe it from being a death sentence to an opportunity to immerse yourself in the playground of healing out there. There's all sorts of ways to heal yourself. So for me, it's given me permission to try all of those funny, silly, weird things. Some of them I went, heck no, I'm never going to do that again. Others have become a core part of my practice and my rituals. So I think too, just letting yourself have that space to explore and not be afraid to try new things has been really healing for me as well.
Yeah, because it's like you never know what will work.
Yeah.
And so speaking of healing, alternatively and from every angle, I always like to look at the root cause of something from a spiritual point of view. And I know for me with breast cancer, that has to do with the heart chakra. So that's giving and receiving, whether it's love, nurturing, holding on to anger, resentment. And I did have issues with all of those things. Like I held on to anger, I held on to resentment. I was really good at giving, but not good at receiving whatsoever. And I was still am a little bit type A, recovering type A person. And so I'm just curious for you. So with colorectal cancer, that is the root chakra, in case anyone is wondering. So in case you guys have any issues in that area, that usually has to do with, how we feel at home. It could have to do with money. And since it is the root chakra, it's just like, are we grounded, and how do we feel safe in the world? Do any of those things, like when you hear those things, like, do you feel like, okay, yeah, like maybe some of those things were an issue that could have potentially contributed to that?
Yeah, definitely. And the facility I went to in Mexico is where I got some treatment. They do a lot with New German medicine. So if you haven't heard of New German medicine, that's an area to explore. It kind of explains the psychological component of disease, like you said. And colon cancer, rectal colon, is definitely root chakra, how safe you feel in your family. And I definitely had a lot of experiences in my early childhood that wouldn't have allowed me to really feel safe in that environment. So looking at that chakra work was really helpful for me to identify it. And then also, letting go of some of those experiences. There was a lot of, looking at journaling and doing some recall of those experiences. And I think that can be a key part of your healing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And also too, with just like, with the colon and like digesting, it's like maybe we're not digesting something. And what I've learned even from my mushroom journey is like something that could have happened to us like years and years ago, like you're saying, from childhood, it could still keep us in this fight or flight or survival mode, and it could, be causing us to have like disease in our body.
Yeah, I mean, one thing a lot of people ask you when you're diagnosed is like, what were your symptoms, or what do you think caused this? And, honestly, I didn't have really any diet or lifestyle kind of factors that would have led to me having colorectal cancer. So I think I've come to the place of realization that I think the reason that I got sick was by staying in spaces and places with people and things that didn't feel good for too long. Oh, you want the shoe. I don't know that your mama wants it on the couch. Oh, I don't know. Do we want that on the couch? Oh, yes, you want it. Okay. You want to put it down? You'll give it to me? I can have to put that on, sweetie. Sit. Hi. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, you're just trying to sneak a kiss. Sit. Boo. She's like, oh, I just did it so I could get another treat. She's so cute. She's a love bug.
We were interrupted for a second. Okay, so that's why I feel like the work that I do and try to help people with is so important, because I do think that there is that component of the chakras and how it adds to that. And what you were saying, you didn't have any of those like
diet.
health
Diet.
I didn't either. Like I worked out all the time, I ate really healthy, and they even said that specific breast cancer has nothing to do with like my diet or my lifestyle, lifestyle in the sense of stress, but yeah, so it just goes to show that there is a deeper level.
Yeah, and I think for me, having that realization that I had spent a lot of my life in places and spaces doing things that I didn't really enjoy, that I didn't really want to be doing, and I wasn't really being honest and authentic about that in my life. So, I kind of went through a journey before my diagnosis to undo a lot of that. And as you said, we had done a lot of self-help work and a lot of inner development before these diagnoses. So this was kind of maybe the icing on the cake to now apply these things and see how it changes our lives. And, my journey has taught me so much about myself and about others. And, honestly, I'm now moving into a space where it has been a huge gift. And when I first heard that, you're going to think someday this is a diagnosis is a gift, I thought, no way. But now I'm kind of understanding the divinity of this process and getting to explore, how we really do heal ourselves. And I'm grateful for people like you that are such an advocate for empowering other people on their journey. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. This is maybe just a part one of more that we can talk about. Definitely. But thank you so much for sharing your story. And is there anything, like just any last thing you want to say to people, whether they are going through any either cancer or any hardship?
That's a great question and kind of a big question. I think
no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. I think for all of us, if we can find a way to look at our hardships and try to find the silver linings. I mean, that might sound, kind of ironic, but each situation can bring a lot of joy, as well as a lot of pain. And I think one of the things that I discovered this, last 2 years of my life going through this cancer journey is that, both burdens and blessings are better when shared. So creating a community of people that can walk this journey on with you, and having advocates that can help you and help bring clarity, and being unafraid to tell your story and unafraid to tell people honestly where you're at. I mean, I've had conversations with people in grocery stores that have broken down crying because they heard me say something about cancer. So it's like, this is a human experience, so we're all here to kind of help support each other on the journey. So I think it's a great opportunity to humble yourself and to realize that, like, hey, the whole world's here trying to help you figure this out, and ask people for help. There's a lot of great resources out there that will come out of nowhere, and don't be afraid to create some magic as you go, because it can be an amazing experience as well as a really terrifying one.
I love that. And yeah, with the heart chakra too, like that was one of the things I had to learn the hard way, is I never asked people for help, because like I said, I would give but I wouldn't receive. And so then with this cancer diagnosis, they were like, you will be asking for help, like whether you like it or not, because like after you have surgery you're bedridden, and like I had to ask, like I had to have people help me, but it showed me that it was actually like safe and okay to do so. And so I feel like you see that as well, like when you're sharing your story with all these people, like you see how much it helps them.
Yeah, and people want to help. They want to help you. They want to, help you on your journey. So it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to say, I don't know how you can help me. And, sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. Sometimes you need to go for a walk. Sometimes you need to have a good cry. So building a support system of people that you can ask for those things from, and then not being afraid to ask for help when you need it, has really helped me on my journey.
Definitely. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for either listening or watching, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode.
Take care.